And today I'm going to explain about CBAC deployment and the few examples on the wire. So let's start with by taking an example like how do I access a file share from the client machine? Like suppose if there is so in an organization we have some confidential data which has high business impact. So to prevent that data from uh, unauthorized US, we actually do this central access. We create some central access policies. So I wanted to explain it, the deployment with the help of example. Suppose there is some finance documents which is some secured, which has a secured data, so which will not be viewed by all the departments in the organization. So I wanted to take this example. So this payroll documents will be viewed only by a particular department of a department and a particular which belongs of a particular country. So I need to configure this. I wanted to show it how we can configure it by demonstrating it. So it will have a. Let me show with a demonstration actually. So I wanted to start up by taking this scenario. Like first we need to, first and foremost thing of this presentation is how, if you wanted to demonstrate the scenario, what will be the network topology. So network topology, basically how many servers will be there and what are the clients, how it is connected. So I will explain the topology, then I'll go to the deployment steps by taking the scenario. Then I will explain some protocol messages which is on the wire. Then I will show the demonstration. Network topology. To demonstrate this scenario, we have a client and two servers. One server is configured as domain controller and the other is our file server. So in the domain controller, we should have the role, role should be configured as Active Directory Administrative Center. So Active Directory Administrative Center basically has the feature of dynamic access control. Dynamic access control is, it will have the feature of accessing the files, it will have the flexible access to files actually. So DC provides that facility, and the file server, we have the roles like file server resource manager, where we configure the properties to the resources like folders, files, etc. So these are the roles which are configured for demonstrating the scenario. So Active Directory Domain Services role, which is a role which is configured on DC, which introduces a claim-based authorization. So file server resource manager is one more role which is used to set up and manage one or more file servers, and which is used to push the next role is a group server role, which is used to push the central access policies configured on the DC to the file server, and in the client machine which is used to access the files. So these are the roles configured for demonstrating the scenario. So this is a network topology for demonstration, and let me go the in-depth steps for deployment of CBAC. For demonstrating the CBAC, we need to first configure, if you wanted to view any particular file, first the file should be authorized. The user should be authorized to view the file. First it should be authenticated, then it should be authorized to view that file. So here we are using, we have many authentication techniques like Kerberos, NTLM, etc. So first we are taking an example of how we authorize using the Kerberos. So we need to configure the Kerberos. The first step of deployment is we need to configure the Kerberos for the user to be authenticated. Let's go to the demo. I'll show the live actually. So this is the Active Directory Administrative Service, And to demonstrate the scenario, like how I was saying that if you have any payroll documents which will be viewed by the particular department in the particular country, to demonstrate this scenario, we need some security groups configured, and we need to configure some users which belongs to the particular department. Say we have. The first step for this demonstration is we need to create a client and 2 servers which is in the same domain actually. So with the help of in the Active Directory we need to in the Active Directory we need to create some let me go. So we need to create some security groups, and we need to create some users which belongs to that security groups. So I've created for the payroll department, I've created payroll admin as a security group, and payroll exception is another security group. And I've created 4 users. One user belongs to the admin group, and the second user 001 which belongs to the exception groups. So we'll come to know who will be able to access. So I've configured 4 users and the 2 security groups to show the user claims and device claims. So for the user's sake, I have created groups and users. So to demonstrate the device claims, I am going to the computers, and so all the 3 computers are in the same domain. So I wanted to. So for a particular to show the device claims, I was sorry. Yeah. So I'm actually adding this to the. No, actually. So to demonstrate this, I'm actually adding some users and groups in the users and computers to the VNet client, and this is a file server. So I'm actually adding all these things to the computer, using this Active Directory users and computers. So I've added the users and computers. Then the next thing is I need to configure file server resource manager in the file server. So this is a file server. So I have configured the role in the file server resource manager in the file server. So these are the prerequisites for demonstrating. So we need to create some users and groups in the domain controller, and we need to add some users in the using ADUC tool, Active Directory users and computers tool. We have created some users, and we have added some users, we created some groups, and we added some users to the particular groups, and we have also added some computers to show device claims. So that is the first prerequisite. So next one, with respect to file server, we need to have the file server resource manager configured in this file server. So these are the prerequisites. Let's go in depth. In the domain controller, so we have created users and devices, right? Users and devices. We need to map this. So we are using one more tool in the domain controller, ADSA edit. So we are mapping these users and devices, mapping these claims to the users and computers actually. So if you go to the users properties, so there is a curb. So the first step is we are configuring Kerberos, right? So there's a sorry. So we need to go to the users. So there is a Kerb account. Yeah. So there is a Kerb account. In the Kerb account, we have MSDS. Yeah, we're setting this value, which yeah, we're setting this MS supported encryption flag to 0x, a decimal value of 0x followed by 4 zeros. So in the let me show in the Kyle document, which explains. Yeah, these are the encryption bits which is supported in the Kyle document. So this is fast supported. It's yeah. We are to configure KERPs. We are actually giving the values for the fast supported and compound identity supported, claim supported. So basically we are giving the values for this. So MSDS supported encryption types. You're supplying the values to this for the use for the KERP account. So even for the devices, same thing. You go to the properties, MSDS support, encryption supported. So we are providing the values to the computers and the users to configure the Kerberos and the DC. So let's go to the presentation. So this is the first step in the deployment step. So in the DC, what we have done, we have configured some users and groups, and we have provided, we have mapped that claims to the users and devices using ADSA edit. So we have provided some values fast enabled to configure the Kerberos. So we have set some values to the fast and to the users and devices. So next step is we need to create central access policies. To create central access policies, we have a Active Directory administrative services. It provides a DAC, dynamic access control facility, where we can create a central access policies. So let me go there. So this is Active Directory administrative services. It provides the DAC features where we can create the central access policies. So if you go to the DAC, so we have claim types, resource properties, and central access rules, central access process. Yesterday's session, Ganga and Elisa was speaking about this, how to create a claims, resource properties. Let me fastly go through this, how to, creating, see I have already created some claims. So I have created a claims, so we have a scenario of payroll document, finance documents which will be viewed by a particular department and particular country, right? So we have two claims, department and country. So I have created two claims, department and country. So the resource properties, so I have created two claims. Then I need to create resource. Next step is I need to create the resource properties. So in the resource properties, I will be providing the allowed values. So particular country, say I configured, here I have configured with some country names, US, Japan. So, and for the particular department, I have given some data security departments, payroll departments. So I have configured this resource properties. So now I have created claim types and resource properties. I'm not able to see this resource properties. Okay. So yeah, click on the resource properties, resource property. So I will be providing multi-value choice. So suggested values, this feature will be used, to allow some values to that resource property. Say suppose US. So then one more value, Japan. So I've created some two values to the country. So like this, I will be creating some resource properties. So now I have created claim types and resource properties. Using this claim types and resource properties, I will be creating some rules. This is what is central access rules. So I have created one central access rule. It's a payroll rule. So I have allowed some, I've given some rules to authenticated users. Only that particular authenticated users will be able to view that. So I have already given some rules. So this is the rule I have given. So user of a particular country user should be of any of resource country name, and a particular user department name should be any of resource department name. So I have given the rules, configured the rules using the claims and resource properties. After configuring the rules, I need to include this central access rule to the central access policies. So here is a central access policies. So there is a payroll policy which I have already added it. So we need to add this particular central access rule to the central access policies. So this is how we will create a central access policies in the domain controller, the Active Directory basically. So we have configured Kerberos, then we have created central access policies. The next step is we have to create a group policy. To create a group policy, as I said, in the domain controller, I have one more role, group policy, where I will be pushing these central access policies across the file server in an organization. Yeah, this is a group policy management. So the prerequisites for this scenario to work, I have a group policy, predefined group policy objects, where is a default domain policy. If you look at it, I've already configured it. Let me show this. So just go to the computer configuration, policies, Windows settings. It's a bit slow. Sorry, it was a bit slow. So security settings. So you have a file system here. So you have a central access policy, right click, manage central access policies. So you will be adding the policy which you have configured. It's a payroll policy, you have already added it. So you will be adding this policy configured to the file servers. Okay. And one more setting I need to do is I need to enable that fast. Let me show that. Okay. So if I go to the default domain policy, right click it. Have a computer configuration. Policies. Then you go to the administrative templates. There is a system. So here it is a KDC. So you have to enable this support dynamic access control and Kerberos armory. So you have to enable this. I have already enabled it. So next step is you have to enable this option. Let's go to the presentation. So we have created a group policy and we are pushing this group configured central access policies to all the file servers. So we have enabled the support and support for CBAC and Kerberos fast. We have enabled that option. Then the last step is we have to apply these CAPs on a particular share folder, a particular folder on the file server. Let's go there. Let me go to the file server. So we have configured with respect to the domain controller. Let's go to the file server. So as a part of prerequisite, we need to create a folder in the file server with all the share, in the share path. We have to put that folder in the share path, share. So this is the folder which I have created. I have already shared it. I've created some users in the domain controller. I have shared the read access to all the users in this. So let me show the properties. If you go to the properties, sharing. Not here. So now I need to, the next step is I need to apply all the CAPs on this folder which is shared, right? So what I do is go to the command prompt and I need to update the group policies. For this, to do this, I will just type group update force. So it will update all the group policies. So it's updated. Then I do FSRM, update FSRM, PowerShell. Okay. Let's go to the PowerShell and type the command update FSRM resource classification property. Update. Correct only. It's correct only, right?
State of document. You got that. Update.
The last step. Classification property definition. Okay. The command was update FSRM classification property definition. This will update the classification properties on the particular share folder. So this is already updated. So group we have updated group policies. We have updated file classification properties. Let's go to the particular folder properties. Go to the classification. So in the classification, you will have all the claims which resource properties which you have configured in the DC. So we have configured country name as US and department name as a payroll and a document type as a finance document types. So this particular document type, finance documents, will be viewed by a particular country which belongs to the US and a particular department which is of payroll. So let's go to the security tab, advanced. So you will have a central policy tab added to it. So initially will not policy will not be auto-populated. You have to choose it. Let's go to the change. You will have the list of all the property policies, central access policies configured in the DC here. So you select a payroll policy which you have created. So the corresponding payroll rule will be auto-populated. So all the rules which you have set here in the DC, it will be populated here. So payroll admin will have modify access, payroll exception will have read and execute access, and authenticated users will have read access. That is what we have set in the domain controller. This is how we configure the central access policies in the file server. So now we have to access the file from the client. Let me show some captures. Let's go to the client computer. Let me open it. Let me open a new capture. Start it. Let me open the file share. Test is the file server name. So I have this shared payroll files. So if I open it, I have some file for testing. So I'll just open this file. Let me show some network captures for MS CAPR protocol. Okay. Let's do. There is no messages because to view that MS CAPR packets. Start. Let me start again. Open the share. To view CAPR, MS CAPR protocol capture messages, right click it, properties, security, advanced. This is basically ACL UI tool. This is admin tool which is used to retrieve the central access policies configured in the domain controller. So if I click on this central access policies and access rights, you so now started. Let me. Yeah. So now I am able to capture the CAPR protocol messages. So what this CAPR basically does is it's a MS central access policy retrieval protocol which helps the admin file server admin to client mission to retrieve the files, enumerate the configured central access policies on the domain controller. So let me show some. So basically it has a single method, it has a single method, and this transport is on SMB over, RPC over SMB and RPC over TCP/IP. Yeah. So this is a response message. Let me show this CAPR wrap cap IDs. It will have entries 1. We have configured one policy. So it will give the list of entries in the domain controller and the group IDs. So it will return success once the response is, once it able to respond. So this is basically the CAPR messages. This can be retrieved when we are able to view this shared path, right? This is the ACL UI tool, as I told you. If you click on this advanced, this is the ACL UI tool which is used to retrieve the central access policies configured in the domain controller. So let me go to the presentation. So we're done with the deployment. So deployment steps. This is how I've already missed to say this. Actually, there's so many. There will be multiple policies in the organization. How it is pushed to the file servers is shown diagrammatically. So the next is, it is a complete workflow of central access policies. So how the Active Directory, how we create claims, file properties, all these rules in the Active Directory. How the client will be, as I showed you on the wire, how the client will be able to access it, the file share. This is the file server. This is the complete central access policy workflow. So as I showed you, it is MS CAPR protocol, which is which helps the administrator to query the central access policies configured in the domain controller, and it will be represented using the GUIDs in the AD, and it is always defined and hosted in the Active Directory. And the basic purpose of this protocol is it will manage the authorization policies and transport, as I said, it's RPC over TCP/IP and RPC over SMB2. This is the trace, network trace, which I've already shown you on a wire, which has the wrapped cap IDs. So this is about CAPR protocol messages, and I've already showed you how to access the CBAC file share from the client machine. So let me show some, there is a scenario of reading a file from CBAC aware share. So if the authentication protocol, as Ganga mentioned yesterday, if the authentication protocol is Kerberos in service ticket with the user and device claims, and service ticket with without the user claims, and if what if the authentication protocol is an NTLM, how it is carried actually. Let's go to that. You will be able to get the Kerberos packets when you are trying to read a CBAC aware file share. So let me show that. start the netmon and open the file share to read a particular file in the share path. Open that. So the scenario is, example is reading a particular CBAC aware file share. So just open this. Stop this. Just give the filter Kerberos V5. Sorry. There's no Kerberos paths. Sorry. So I have it here. Anyways. So when I try to read that CBAC aware file share, I'll get the Kerberos packets service ticket, which has we have already configured that fast, right? So in this PA data type, not this. Okay, PA data type will be FX fast. So as Ganga mentioned yesterday, there is a flow. Let me show that flow. So message flow if a service ticket with a user and device claims. So client computer will send the Kerberos AS request. So DC will send this. Let me show this. This is a flow. Let me show this on the slide. So TGS request. This is a TGS request. Yeah, I will try.
For SIP service, this is SMB supply service.
Yeah. This is a service ticket. Yeah, one second. I'm not able to drag this. Yeah, this is a service ticket for SIFs. So this is a response message. So after the response is given, the session is session is set up between client and the file server. So tree connect is happening. Then create message is there. SMB to create. So you are trying to read a file. So there is a read message. Sorry, here it is. Then you are trying to close it. You get the close message. SMB to close. This is when the Kerberos is the authentication protocol and service ticket with user and device claims. Yeah. Let me show that NTLM authentication also. So I will start the netmon once again. New capture. Then open the file share. This is using IP. So it has not started. Sorry. I will start I have not started the netmon. Sorry. Let it start. So now let's go to the file share. open this. So you're trying to open again the text file, reading some file. Just close it. Close this. And stop the netmod. Now it's not Kerberos, so you just give the SMB2 as a filter. Apply it. By this time, let me open this NTLM authentication message flow. You will have the authentication protocol negotiation and the SMB session setup. Then here APDS protocol comes into the picture. So negotiation happens. So it is NTLM. So there is a session setup. Yeah. Yeah. In the previous capture, we have seen that it is a fast enable. Since it is not Kerberos, it is NTLM authentication. We have seen this token as NTLM negotiate message. So this is so we have the token NTLM token here. So session setup happens. Then similarly tree connect. Then you have a create message, SMB2 create message. Then you are trying to read it, SMB2 read message. And finally you are trying to close it, SMB2 close. So this is how the message flow on the wire happens for Kerberos and NTLM protocols.
And file server, you have file server network.
Which is it?
File server, between file server and DC communication. You have
No, I don't have that.
Okay.
So let me go to this. So this is how the reading of a file, which is a CPAC aware file share. Reading a file from CPAC aware share happens. How the Kerberos if a Kerberos is an authentication protocol, and how the service ticket with the user and device claims happens, and if the authentication protocol is NTLM, how it happens. So authorization is always happened for the Kerberos through PAC, which has the PAC device claims and the PAC claims info inside this. PAC is basically a data structure protocol which carries this claims info for devices and users. And for NTLM, with respect to NTLM, it is netlog and validation SAM info, which carries this claims. So this is a sample trace which I've already shown you. So that's it actually. Any question and answers? Questions? Sorry. Yeah. You can help me.
Do you plan to have a tutorial to be able to reproduce what you presented in demonstration? Like, I take the example for branch cache. You had a couple of papers on the web explaining how to simply test branch cache.
Okay.
I mean, just would be very good for this.
I'll take that.
Yeah, sure.
So basically, Matthew, the question about deployment guidance and and sample VMs for it comes down to we're doing the protocol testing specifically. So those will become available, and the product team is working on a whole series of white papers. They've provided some presentations, and I would refer you all the way back to the Build conference, where they gave some of the finance examples you saw alluded to by Susmita, and also yesterday by Elisa. Those were presented at Build, fairly in depth, and there will be some others that will be turned into actual white papers. So it will come, but they're not complete yet. I think they've published some of them already, but we're gonna have to check on that as far as the status.
Right. The one is there in MSDN. Is like the configuration steps is already available, like how to set up it.
Oh, those setup steps for CBAC?
Right, but the information is not available on the protocol standpoint, like what
Yeah.
protocols are involved. That gap actually in the document which I authored, AZOD is trying to cover that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
And they're like,
the deployment guidance, so there's some of it apparently has been published from the product
we
team.
can find that information.
Yeah.
The detailed steps like how to set up the file server and how to set the Active Directory with the claims and the client, the KDC configuration, all that information. Then the protocol related information, it's the best place is AZOD document. Protocols, and it's trying to connect the protocol messages also.
Right, so for the protocols, you want to go back to the MSAZOD presentation that you provided, and we will put that up there in this group of
Right.
There'll be annotated
presentations.
captures also.
For the system documents, Maruthi brought up a good point. For all of our system documents, we have annotated captures for specific examples. So we will be annotating the captures for those and putting them up on the codeplex.com, the sysdoc cap library.
And there'll be a deployment rate.
So the deployment information will be there too, in the same location?
Do we-
Yes, it's available on MSDN, and maybe I'll share with Darrell. Darrell will be able to share to everyone.
Okay.
Right.
So once this
deployment-
document is finalized and released, you find all that. Primarily, it's the captures and then instructions. And they're all annotated, right? So you can actually look at the captures and then they'll basically say, for this message, right, as shown in the document, the AZOD document, like this is the representation. So you have a one-to-one mapping.
Right. And the captures also is we are planning to publish in the Codeplex with annotation. Now the captures like which Susna explained, the fast armor, you will not be able to see what data structure inside that. The capture which we are trying to post on Codeplex, which is unencrypted one. At least you can see that what new data structures in Windows 8, the Kerberos client is trying to send for KDC, asking for the claims and all that information. It's available soon.
I was thinking specifically of the setup instructions.
The setup instructions already in MSDN. I can point to the place where.
Okay.
Right,
okay.
and again, those are all part of the standard MSDN white papers and deployment guidance from the product team, apart from the protocol specification.
Yeah. And as Daryl has just mentioned, right, I mean, if you look back from the Build conference, there's extensive data on this, especially on claims and all the related information, apart from the protocol stuff, right, like all the general information also is available. So there are like tens of presentations.
Are there any other questions specific to CBAC or protocol related stuff?
Thanks, Susmita. Thank you, Ganga.
Thanks for that.